Hi everyone, this is Dina from the partnership. We're going to start in just a few minutes, but can you let us know through the question box if you can hear us, and also if you can see the PowerPoint on the screen. Thanks, Ivan. So we can hear. Can you see the screen? No PowerPoint on the screen yet. Okay, we will fix that.
Sharing?
Yeah, do play. Yep.
Is someone sitting next to you, please?
No.
All right. So, all right, there we go. There it is. All right, we're all set up. So you can see the screen.
Okay.
All right, so we're just going to get ourselves settled here, give people a couple more minutes to get on the webinar, and then we'll start.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. This is Christy Chevali with the partnership. I'm here with Doug, Dina, Dora, the 3Ds, Gabby, Patty, and Ann. So we're all here for moral support, I guess. But today we're going to cover the income calculation, and hopefully you're going to agree that it's easy as 1 plus 2 plus 3. And just a few things. Everyone is in listen-only mode. If you have a question, you can type it in the question box. We're going to try to answer as many questions as we can. And again, all the materials will be posted on the help desk probably by the end of the day tomorrow. And we are recording, and we'll also post this on the help desk. So basically what we're going to cover today is our self-reported income procedure and how it applies to the dislocated workers and their out-of-school youth. And then we'll show you how to enter that in Career Connect. And then also we're going to talk about the low-income calculation for low-income adults and also for in-school youth. And when you're going to use it, we'll go a little bit over our policy, the automatic qualifiers. We'll talk about the family definition and some new includable and excludable income. Also, we have a list of the acceptable documentation, and we'll cover the fact sheet. And then we'll also show you how to enter that in Career Connect. So it's kind of a full agenda. So we will try to answer questions as we go. But I'm going to go ahead and start with our self-reported income procedure. Basically, it's on our help desk, like most of our procedures. Where is it? So hold on 1 second. I thought I had it out. Sorry, I thought I had it out already. So let me just pull up the procedure so you can all see what we're talking about. Sorry. This is the form, but I want to show you actually, because you guys are going to have to put this form in your customer file. So this is a procedure. So basically, we need to report the low-income individual served under WIOA regardless of what their eligibility status is. So for the dislocated worker and for the youth that we talked about. So this procedure talks about the scenarios when you can use the self-reported, how to enter the self-reported income in Career Connect, and how to document in the customer file. And here, according to our procedures, they may only be used in one of the following two scenarios where income is not required. So basically everyone pretty much knows that a dislocated worker is automatically eligible and has nothing to do with income. But in this procedure, we do need you to fill out the form so that we're documenting that they could be low income as well. And this is not for eligibility, it's just for federal reporting purposes. The Department of Labor, or DOL, has asked us to report this to them, so this is why we have this procedure in place. And this would apply for the dislocated workers and the out-of-school youth who have the applicable barriers. So if they don't meet these two things, the dislocated worker or the out-of-school youth who has the automatic qualifier, like if they're a dropout, if they're within compulsory age but has not attended school, subject to the juvenile or justice system, homeless, foster care, pregnant or parenting, individual with a disability. So most of you all know that income is not required for those categories. So we still need you to, however, we still need you to document that. Now, if the customer does not meet one of those two scenarios, you must document low income, and that's what we're going to get into in a little bit. But right now, I'm just going to show you the form, and this procedure goes into detailed instructions and screenshots with Career Connect. But this is the actual form that we want you to use and put in the customer file. So your customer is attesting to their family size, and we're not asking you to get a check stub at this point for your dislocated worker or that youth who's a high school dropout or any of those other categories. We just want you to ask them how they've been supporting themselves for this last 6 months, and they're going to tell you. And you're going to write it down, and they're going to sign it. So in our first example, I want to show you a dislocated worker. So here I have someone who's already filled out they have a family size of 4. They've been receiving unemployment for the last 6 months, and it's been approximately $2,600. So when I go into Career Connect, I'm going to pull the application up. And I'm going to go to Programs because I want to open up the application. And this is basically on the family, so the income worksheet. Now this should look familiar to everyone, especially because it looks just like IWDS. Let me just get rid of this here. So in this case, for the instructions of our form, it's saying that in order for where you're supposed to document is the $2,600 that they earned in that 6 months that they are just self-attesting to is going to be in the 6-month column. So this way we know that you didn't do a full income calculation for this person, that you just did the self-attest, and that's okay. So that's why we want you to put all of the information in just one column for the 6 months. So once you've done that, we're going to go ahead and click on Next. And now again, based on your form, you're going to fill out the family size. And in our case, it was a family of 4. And we're going to verify that because we're going to verify through the Applicant Statement, which is what they're attesting to. So make sure you're clicking Applicant Statement. And then you're also going to, so it's pulling that 2,600 annualized from the previous screen, and you want to verify that again also with the Applicant Statement, because we didn't ask you to do check stubs for this customer, so we're just going to do a signed Applicant Statement. Okay, and also here I want you to notice this message here in red is saying low income has not been established on previous entries. Therefore, low income will be based on family size and income, and they're required, which is exactly what we've done. We've collected that document stating that, and we've signed it, and now we know that it's going to be established on family size and income. And so now we're going to click on Next. And once you do that, it should be saved. I just want to show you in the Eligibility and Grants tab that even though we are talking about low income, the customer is still eligible as a dislocated worker. So they're not eligible for both adult and dislocated because you answered those questions. They're still eligible as a dislocated worker. Okay, so that's the instance where, that's one instance where you can use that self-reported income sheet. Another instance is going to be where I'm just going to go back to this. Just 1 second. So in our other scenario, we have this youth. So I want to show you a youth. So some of the youth who are like, the example I'm going to show you is a customer who is a high school dropout, but he's also in a family that's considered low income because they get TANF. So in this case, you wouldn't have to fill out that self-attest form because he's considered low income because of he's receiving TANF or SNAP. So this is also right here in our procedure, so you can see what those low income reasons are and what are some of those automatic qualifiers. But again, we're going to cover that in a little more detail in a little bit. So I'm going to show you the next example with the youth. Does anybody have any questions so far? Or are we going too fast?
Oh, scroll down. I'm sorry. Click.
Oh, shoot. I lost audio.
Oh, can you all still hear us?
Are you able to hear us? I see that Nikki said she lost audio, but I don't know if that was just her. Oh, yep. Okay, people can hear us. Okay, good. Yep. All right.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. So back to the youth example is, I just want to show you again.
Okay, we do have a question. Okay, the question is, how about a person who is only basic skills sufficient?
Okay, we're going to talk about that later on in our presentation, so hold tight. Okay, so for this example, the customer he's automatically qualified because he's a high school dropout, and now we're documenting that he's low income because he's receiving food stamps, SNAP, and we're going to verify that because we printed out our public aid letter. Then we're going to go ahead and click Next. And then I want to show you the family income screen again because this message will be different this time. Because based on it says, if you notice here, low income has already been established based on previous entries. Family size and income are optional. So because you have this message here, you don't need to fill out that self-attest form. It's already been established because the person's receiving food stamps and you've documented that. And again, the customer is eligible as a youth, automatically eligible for a youth.
Okay, we have a question. On the income worksheet in the Career Connect, should the UI benefits be under the other section as it appears in the self-reported income sheet?
You're saying when you document it in Career Connect? No, we want, for the self-reported income, we want you to document it in we want you to document it in month 6 in wages. It does, whether it's wages or not, whatever the income is that they're telling you, document it in 6. You know, hold on one second.
Sorry.
What do you think?
Give us 1 second here. All right. Sorry, everybody. We want to make sure we were all on the same page before we answered your question. You know, sometimes we're not. So this is Dina. And yes, the person who asked the question, that's correct. So we want you to put all the wages in the 6th month, or all the income in the 6th month. But if it's wages, it should be in the wages row. If it's self-employed, and correct, if it's UI benefits, that should go in the other. Which is how Christy had it on the worksheet, on the form, the paper form, but she put it, for the dislocated worker, she put it in the wages. So yes, you should just put it in the same row as they fill it out on the form, but it should all be in the 6 months. Is that clear? I think it's pretty clear in the procedure.
Yeah, so yeah, I apologize. Yes, you should put it in the other row, but just make sure it's in the 6-month column. That way we know you did not perform the full income calculation. Okay, so was there any other questions about the youth? Any questions about the youth example? Okay, if not, I'm going to go ahead and talk about the low income. And just bear with me. I did attach all of these to the webinar, so as a handout, so my attachments are kind of long. So if you want to download them, you can, especially when we get to the income calculation. I attached the paycheck stub as an example. So anyway, so basically the next thing we're going to cover is who is considered low income and what are some of the automatic qualifiers. So basically this is our low income policy, and low income is, I'm not going to read the whole policy, obviously, so I'm just going to tell you some of the highlights about who are the qualifiers and when you should use the income calculation. So in the other 2 scenarios, the eligibility was determined by another way, not the income, the dislocated worker and the youth. In these situations, the customer is going to be eligible as a 1A, and income has to be considered. So some of the automatic qualifiers for the income, as you well know, are SNAP, TANF, SSI, and under WIOA now, is that they don't have to be an actual recipient of those. They have to be a member of a family within the last 6 months. So if you can document that, that's an automatic qualifier. You don't need to document any other income. Even if they just got the food stamps for 1 month in the last 6 months, they're automatically eligible as a 1A. And you don't need to document any other type of income, even if they're working. So the next section is, it says the next way to be qualified as a low income is within a family of a total family income that does not exceed the poverty line or 70% of the lower living income standard. Now this is our chart we have given to you. I'm just going to show you real quick. These are the income guidelines, and these have been updated since May of 2017, so they should be getting ready to update again. But everyone should have this. If you don't have it, again, this is going to be on the help desk after the webinar.
Christy, we're getting some more feedback that the audio is going out, in and out. Is anybody else having that issue?
Maybe I'm too far away from the phone.
Yeah, just try to speak towards the phone. That's as
Okay.
far as I can.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wait, Doug gave us some more. All right, we're just going to move the phone closer to Christy, and hopefully that helps.
Okay. So the next thing is, if the person's homeless, they're automatically qualified. You don't need to document any other income. We're going to go back to number 2 because that's when we're going to perform the income calculation. So for number 2, we're going to come back to that. For number 3, the person is homeless, they're automatically qualified, and you just need to document them living in a shelter or another person maybe providing temporary residence, and you can do that through an applicant statement. Another way to become automatically low income is if you're an in-school youth, if you receive the free lunch, that means you're automatically a low income. An individual with a disability and also a foster child is automatic low income. And one other thing I want to mention, number 7, it says an out-of-school youth is an automatic qualifier for a low income if they live in a high poverty area, and that applies to youth only. It's not a barrier, it just makes you qualified as low income. So you would still need a barrier if you're doing a youth in a poverty area. So we're kind of going to go back to number, so now basically the rest of the things we're going to talk about applies to number 2. And that will be including what income are you supposed to include, what income are you not supposed to include, and what is the definition of the family. So basically here are the things that you need to calculate income for, that you need to do with the income worksheet, which we're going to go over shortly. These are all the things that you need to document and do the calculation for. And I just want to point out I have 3 things circled here. These are new, well, I guess they're not that new because it came out a year ago, but they're newer. You need to document, when you're calculating income, you now need to calculate unemployment. For the longest, unemployment was considered excluded and you didn't have to count it. Now you do have to document and calculate it. The same with the child support and all Social Security. In the past, it was just the Social Security disability that needed to be calculated. Now it's all types of Social Security that need to be calculated. And again, you've always had to document those 3 things, but you never had to put them on the worksheet and calculate. So now you do have to do that. And the next page is, these are the things that are excluded. I'm not going to read all this, so please just read through some of these things where it's not included. If you just notice, one of the things is foster child care payments are not included. I would just go ahead and read through this when you have time. But those are the things that are not included in the income worksheet. Yes, even though they're not included in the family income, you still need to document it. You need to have the documentation in the file, but you don't need to complete the income worksheet for these for this section. And then the next thing we kind of want to cover here is the IBIS fact sheet. There's always been a lot of questions about who to run the IBIS for and what do we need it for and all these questions. So we came up with this fact sheet. So basically the IBIS is required for all family members 18 years of age and that are included on the family income screen that we just showed you in Career Connect. So in my 2 examples, one, I had a family of 4. So if it was like 2 adults and 2 kids, you would have to run the IBIS for both of the adults to show whether or not they have income. or if they're over 18, any other adult over 18. Like if they have let's say it was a mom and she had 3 kids and one child was 21 and he's working, you would have to calculate that income. Okay, anybody you list on that screen, you have to calculate their income and run the IBIS for.
Christy,
yes.
To clarify, this is only if you're calculating the full income, not if you're doing the self-attestation.
That is correct, yes. If you're calculating the full income, this is who you include. If you're doing that self-attest for like the dislocated worker or the youth or whatever, right, you don't have to run the IBIS. Any applicant 18 years or old with a self-attestation stating that they don't have income or that they're reporting themselves as self-employed, you need to run the IBIS. So this would be anybody who is doing odd jobs. You still need to run the IBIS for them, and they can write the applicant statement saying they're doing odd jobs, and it should line up. If there is income on the IBIS, that's when you are going to have to calculate that income. So an IBIS is also required for applicants who provide a check stub as proof of income, and the year-to-date fails to cover the 6-month period. So even if they're giving you a check stub, but it may not give you the year-to-date, you want to make sure that you're pulling the IBIS so you can get all the income, so you can capture all the income. Another one is if a person has a room and board letter, an IBIS is required for that applicant. The one that's saying there's no income, so you do need to run an IBIS for that person. So the next section, it says an IBIS will not be required for anyone who falls into the following categories. So if they're automatically eligible with a SNAP, no IBIS, TANF, no IBIS, homeless, foster child, SSI, and a 5% window for youth, no IBIS. And this is also what Dina just mentioned. Anyone you're doing that self-reported income on, you don't have to run an IBIS for them. And just here, number 3, it says, please note all youth 17 years of age are required to prove a parent or guardian's income. If the parents claim no income, an IBIS is required.
Okay. We have a question. You indicated that we now need to do an income calculation for UI. Is this true? And if so, when are we responsible for calculating income?
Yes, this is true, and I'm going to show you the back up here is the includable and excludable. This says effective March 9th, 2017, and that's what this includable and excludable income came into effect. So I'm going to say you have to. So if you haven't done it, you may get. When our auditors come out, they may ask you to, redocument that. So just be aware of that. But yes, it is required. Yes, for the adults. And anyone you're making a low income. There are some youth that fall into the low income category. Youth, all the in-school youth and some out-of-school youth. So anyone you're determining as low income, you must calculate the unemployment. And also, just one more thing here, gives you the definition of family right here for you. A family member are 2 or more persons related by blood, marriage, or decree of court who are living in a single residence, and included in one of the following categories: married couple and children, parent, guardian, children, or a married couple. So it's not including like aunts, uncles, grandma, whatever, unless they're the legal guardian. Any questions on the fact sheet or anything else before we get into the income calculation? No? Okay. So here, this is in one of your handouts. I did give you all my attachments here. This is the checks that I'm going to be working on. So I just want to make sure.
Okay, I have someone to say yes. So.
Okay, we do have some questions. So,
do we need to ask for marriage license?
No. Okay.
One more. Will the eligibility checklist be updated to reflect the fact sheet?
Yes. We're working on the eligibility checklist. Okay. So before we go into the income calculation, I just want to make a statement that this is kind of a general overview. We are going to be offering some more income calculation training in person because I realize it is a little difficult to do an income calculation on a webinar. So I'm just going to demonstrate how to do it. But again, all of this information is going to be on the help desk. Some of you are already familiar with how to calculate income, but we're going to show you how to do an income calculation from one of the check stubs. So here we have an electronic version of the income worksheet, which we've also updated for you. And if you look here at this bottom tab where it says instructions, this literally spells out everything you need. It explains everything that you're answering. And all these cells that are highlighted in blue, if you just type in here, it transfers over to the income worksheet. So you really don't even have to use a calculator. I know some people want to use a calculator, which is fine, or you can use the old form, which is if you're used to, that's totally fine. But we're trying to keep it simple. So in our scenario, I'm going to show you again the check stub. Like I said, it's not the easiest to do this over a webinar, but I do want to show you an example of how to calculate the income. So in this example, the application date is going to be September 25th, 2017. And I'm not going to fill out the name just for sake of time. But again, I'm going to go back to our, here is our guidelines, and this also has a little cheat sheet. So if you look here, my month of application was September. Here it gives you right next to it, it says the 6 months prior to month of application is March. So I don't have to even count on the calendar or anything. I'm just going to go put in here. So I know it's going to be March, but I'm also going to read these instructions to you here. The 6-month eligibility period, it says use the appropriate calendar to count back 6 months and add 1 business day from the date of application to establish the eligibility period. And we're going to record it here on line A. So we're going to look at our calendar, which I also have another calendar here. And again, this is all going to be on the help desk. So according to our cheat sheet, we're going to go back 6 months, and that's going to be March 25th. Now remember, our instructions said to add 1 day. So if I add 1 day, it's going to be March 26th, which is a Sunday. And we want to add a business day. So I'm not going to go to the 26th. I'm going to go to the 27th because we're only counting business days. And if you see out here, the March has like 23 days. April has 20 days out here. Those are business days, and they're already calculated. They're already counted for you, so you don't even have to count those. So for this example, so we're trying to make it as easy as possible for you all. So the eligibility period for him is what? March 27? And now, according to the check stub, we're going to look at the pay period end date. And you have to pay, like, all check stubs are different. I kind of chose an easy one that's easy to read. Sometimes they're not always easy to read. Right here it says pay period ending. It says August 28, 2017. And then the next line says year-to-date start date. Now, this can sometimes be a little confusing. So again, we have the instructions here, the explanation right here. So if your customer's been working at this job for a couple of years, the start date is going to be January 1st of that calendar year. Now, if your person just started a few months ago, it's not going to be January. It's going to be whatever day they started during that year. So if they started in May of 2017, you're going to put May 1st, 2017. It has to be that calendar year. But in our scenario, the person's been working there for a couple of years, so we're going to put the start date of January 1st, 2017. And now, basically, the reason we're doing this is because we're trying to get to the average daily rate. So in order to do that, we need to figure out how many days are in this year-to-date period between January 1st and August 28th. And again, this is where your calendar is going to come into play. And all these little numbers out here are business days. So what I'm going to do is add up. I'll just show you my little calculator here real quick. So we are going to add the days from January 1st until the pay period end date, which is August 28th. I've already added them, but just so you get an idea of what we're doing, I'm adding January, all the business days from January until August. But I do want to show you, so for August, you're only going to count up to the pay period end date, which is August 28th. So what do we have? Hold on. So for January, 22 days. Wait, I guess I could make mine. Oops, trying to make it small. So you don't have to just look at my calendar. Okay, so 22 for January, 20 for February, 23, 20, July 21, and then August, I'm not going to count. I'm only counting until the 28th. So I would count 5, 10, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So there's 20 business days in August, because again, we're only counting until the 28th. So that gives us 171 days during that period. So I'm going to write it on my form, 171. And then now I'm going to go back to my check stub because I want to know how much did that person earn during the year so far. So this is also important, is to look on your check stub. You don't want it to be the net earnings. It needs to be your year-to-date growth. So in this case, the customer has earned $15,993. So I'm just going to copy that on to my worksheet. And then it's automatically going to calculate the daily rate for you here. See how nice? You don't even have to use your calculator, because basically you're dividing the number of days by the year-to-date total to get this average daily rate. And again, the household size does come into play, so you need to make sure you're documenting how much is in the family. And in this scenario, we're going to have 4 people in the family. So now I'm going to go over to the actual worksheet, and everything should be populated, and it is. So we have the 6-month eligibility period. We have the average daily rate. And now we're going to scroll down so you can see that it has transferred over to this section here, the chart. Okay, any questions at this point? No? Okay. So I just also want to point out that this top section with all this A through F, that's basically about the customer's paycheck. It's not about the eligibility. The eligibility period comes down when you enter into the chart here. So we already know our eligibility period starts March 27th, so I'm going to put here March, April, May, because we want to account for the last 6 months. Oops. And if you notice here, it's saying DOA, that means date of application. So yes, not debt of arrival. DOA is date of application. Every time I see that, I think that too. But anyway, so again, we're going to go back to our calendar. And in March, we're going to count for March, but we're starting on March 27th. So on March 27th, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days in March. And then again, I'm going to use the calendar, April 20, May 23. And I'm using all these full days, full months, because they worked here this whole time, right? There's no break in employment. This is the only job they had. Now, August, we're going to put the whole month, and we're going to count all the way until their date of application, which is September 25th. So in this case, let's count the days in September. We're going to count 1, and then this is 5, 10, 15, 16, 17 days in September. So you're going to fill 17, and now again, it's already calculated everything for you. So here is your 6-month total, and here's your annual total, already spelled out for you. And now we're going to look back at our cheat sheet and see, are they eligible or not? Do they meet the requirements? Yes, for a family of 4, they're below this $26,632. This family made $24,000 in the last year. So they are eligible as a low income. And I just want to point out here at the bottom too, if you need to write any notes, like let's say your customer had 3 jobs in the last 6 months, you would have to do one of these sheets for each job, but then just have one main, like, or record one main sheet to have the actual total. And that's where he would write here whatever notes you need to write here, like customer worked 3 jobs. This is job number 1, or whatever you need to write. If you want to write a note, anything to explain your work, so when you get audited, they know how you calculated the income. So before we show you how to, I'm pretty sure you all know how to put it in Career Connect, but I'm going to show you how to put it in Career Connect. But I want to show you one more thing. Okay, we have a question.
Okay. Where can we find this calendar?
Everything's going to be on the help desk as soon as the close of business tomorrow. Will be on the help desk. What we're going to do is we're going to create an income calculation section. So all of the tools you need to calculate income will be under that section.
And right now, if you are able to download the handouts from the GoToMeeting, you should have on your little tool for the GoToMeeting a little thing that says handouts, and you can actually download them right now if you'd like to.
Yes. Thank you, Dina. So one thing I want to do, one thing I want to mention here, where it says enter month, it says enter each month of the 6-month eligibility. And then just notice here, it says notice 1 and 7 are partial months, which will be combined to make the first month total. That's because in Career Connect and iWID, the chart only has 6 columns, and our calculation has 7. So now I'm going to go back to our example here, and I'm just going to show you how to document it in Career Connect, because remember, last time I showed you how to document was somebody who didn't have the whole income calculation. So just give me 1 second so I can pull my person up, because I already have it in here. I don't want to waste time copying and pasting. So in the meantime, does anyone have any questions? Any more questions? Anybody have anything you want to add? Okay, so again, it's just going to go back to the income worksheet section. Hold on, sorry. Like, which side do I move it to? Okay, so I already have this filled out because, just for purposes of time, but I'm just going to show you can just copy and paste this right into Career Connect. And like I said, don't forget, in month 1, you're going to add up whatever total you have for month 1 and month 7. That's what you're going to put in the chart right here for month 1. So that this total right here is month 1 plus 7. Okay, so now I'm going to copy and paste month 6. So you can just, obviously it's easy to copy, copy. And now we're going to paste. And then once you do this, we want to make sure that we have the same total in both places, because it automatically adds it up. Oh, look, and hold on. Oh, I copied month 7. I'm like, sorry, I didn't have the same total. This is a way for you to check your math. I'm like, it's not adding. This is because I copied the wrong one. Okay. So now it should add up to what we have on our worksheet. Yes, $24,504. And yes, that is what we have here. All right.
Okay, we have 2 questions. Are all the fields in income worksheet required, or is it just a worksheet?
Okay, well, if you're doing, there is a couple different ways to do the income. I'm just showing you one way with the check stub. In a couple minutes, I'm going to show you some other ones. So in those other scenarios, not all of that information is required, because sometimes you don't have it. Sometimes you don't have a paycheck. Sometimes they give you the applicant statement, or they bring a tax return, or you're using a mandat or whatever. So if you're using a paycheck, yes, those are required. If you're using something else, you can fill out as much as you can, but they're not required.
Okay, we have one more. Can the date of application be the date the customer was found eligible, or is it the date of the actual registration?
It should be the date of eligibility, because, and one other thing too, we want to point out that the check stub needs to be within the last 30 days, so it has to be current. You need to ask your customers for current check stubs. So let's say you determine them eligible March 1st, and now today you're just putting it in Career Connect. I don't know what, like, so it needs to be kind of, if you're using the eligibility date, it needs to be that same date. That's the date of application. Does that make sense? Or do I need to, is it? Whatever day you're establishing the eligibility should be the date that you're doing the income calculation. Okay. Okay, so once you have this income saved, and you're making sure that you checked your math, that you copied and pasted correctly, you're going to go ahead and click on Next. And I'm just showing you this because, again, I want you to see the message. Oh, it's saying not established.
Right, because...
Oh, okay, yeah, it's saying not established, right. Therefore, low income will be based on family size and income, which is right. Yes, it's right. Because we just did the paycheck stub. Now, so if your person was TANF, you wouldn't have to do this. But they're not TANF, so you have to collect the income for the family, or not another one, another qualifier. And again, it's bringing over your total here that's from the other worksheet, and you just verify it. In this case, we're going to verify that they gave us, for the family size, whatever they gave you. Maybe they did write an applicant statement for a family of 4. But here for the verified, they gave you paycheck stubs for your income. So you want to make sure you check what they gave you. And also one more thing I want to point out, I should have pointed out on the last page as well, this income table is the same thing as our cheat sheet. It's right here in Career Connect, and you want to make sure you're using the middle column that says Metro. So that should match our cheat sheet. And as this gets updated, we'll update this one as well in Career Connect, and also the help desk and any other place that we have our cheat sheet there for you. So I'm going to just go ahead and click on Next. And now again, I'm just going to show you the eligibility and grants tab so that you can see the customer is eligible as a low income. Any questions? Any other questions? Okay, so now I'm just going to show you, this is like an example of an applicant statement. So this is to whom it may concern. I verify that I have been supporting myself for the last 6 months from cash income, which I've earned through odd jobs. Since May, I've been repairing homes and buildings and have earned $2,300. So if you notice on this applicant statement, it's dated, it's specific, it covers the last 6 months, and it's saying exactly how much they made and what they did. So some applicant statements are very vague. We want the applicant statements to be, I don't want to say soup over detailed, but it needs to cover, you need to make sure that it's covering the incomes in the last 6 months, and you need to kind of date it, because we gave you that sheet that you should know if the application was in November, you know you're going back to May to calculate that. So in this case, someone was asking, how do you document it on this form right here? What I would tell you to do is, hold on. Get your calculator, This $2,300 they made in the 6 months, divided by 6. And you just fill this out in your income worksheet for each month. So instead of having these wages here and all this filled out, let me just open up another one. Hold on. I'm not going to save this one so we can go and see. Oh, so here I just want to show you, you're going to fill out whatever the month it was. I think it was starting November, May, June, July. So you got the drift. So here you're just going to put other income. It was 383.33. So all 6 months are going to say that. And this would also be the case if you had an award letter, like where somebody's getting Social Security, they get $516 a month. The same thing. You're just going to fill this out, $516 a month, and fill it out. So does that make sense? Does that answer the question from before? And it will just give you the total. And again, if you have like a split month, like here, like if it was March 15th, you might want to split these months in half, like because the first month and the 7th month is like a partial month. So you kind of just have to look at the dates of your application. Like if it was March 15th, you know it's a half a month. If it's closer to March 1st, then you just put one whole month. And then you'll put that total the same way in Career Connect. But again, you're going to have, instead of the check stubs, you're going to have the applicant statement. And again, you're going to put it right in the same spot with the income worksheet. So I also want to show you, now we showed you a nice income, this is a nice applicant statement. Now we're going to show you, this is a bad applicant statement. This was actually in one of our files. So it says, I blank work full-time and get paid cash. Now, I don't know how you could calculate anything from that. So you basically, this is an example of what not to do. So please make sure when you're doing your applicant statements, they're dated, they're signed, and they're covering the 6-month eligibility period. And it should line up with other documents in the file. Like, let's say your person worked 2 months at a job and you calculated the income from a pay stub. But the other months they made cash. You need to say, okay, for months, whatever, May through June, I worked odd jobs and I made this much cash. So it kind of has to make sense. You can't just write, you want it to make sense.
Okay, I have a question.
Okay.
Okay, how about if someone works for Uber or Lyft, if they get paid different amount on a daily basis?
That one, did they get a check stub or no? Okay, so that one, when you have a situation like that, I would contact your regional manager or send a ticket to the help desk so you can talk more in detail about your specific circumstance, which may happen more often than we know because a lot of people are doing Uber, so we'll have to do some research on that one.
Uber has check stubs.
Oh, okay.
They have a check stub. Even though they're working 1 day or 2 days or whatever, but they have check.
Because if they do have a check stub, I don't know, do they have the year-to-date if they have a check stub? Because that's what you really need for the income calculation is a year-to-date. Okay. And this is one other thing I wanted to show you real quick is if you're doing like, if somebody, all they're giving you is a W-2, like right now is a perfect time for W-2 because it's the end of the year. People say, this is what I made in 2017. This one's a little bit hard to read, but this person made $12,221.30 in the past year. If this is all they're going to give you, this is fine. You need to just divide that by 12, and here's your monthly amount, and this is what you get. This is what you fill out on that form, the worksheet, $10,018.44 for each month. So you just divide it by 12 if they work there that whole, the 12 months. Does anyone have questions about that? And the same thing would apply for a mandat. Like if you have each quarter, each quarter is 3 months, you have a total for the quarter, you just divide it by 3. and put that on the worksheet. Any questions? Okay, well, basically, that's all I had. Oh, I do want to show you one more thing. I'm sorry, acceptable documentation, sorry. This is our list of acceptable documentation that we got from the state. And this is basically saying if you're making the customer eligible as, here's a 1A, 18 or over. These are things that you can document, birth certificate, driver's license, whatever the case is, you need, like it's, these are all the documents you can use to document your eligibility for customers. So like for youth, if you want to document that they are pregnant or parenting, these are all the documents you can use. I forgot it.
In the income section.
And here's for in school, it gives you all, each program. These are the acceptable documentation for low income status. So here it says low income qualifier, and then these are all the documents you can use to document that. And I did forget one thing. We talked about the basic skills.
Well, I was just before
Okay.
I go to that, I was going to point out, which I think me being the Career Connect person, I think it's the nice thing about Career Connect is you have that list right when you go into Career Connect. You can see all the documentation that's available to verify each one. So the list in Career Connect should match what's on this this list from the state. And if it doesn't, let us know. Send us a ticket to the help desk. But I think for the most part, it lines up. So.
Right, and this will come in handy, like if you're not sure how you're making your person eligible before you put them in Career Connect, this is what you can check to see. And then you can also use it in the meantime until we get our eligibility checklist updated.
And that's the next question.
Yes, we're still working on the eligibility checklist since all the changes with WIOA, Career Connect. We're trying to kind of make it more user-friendly. The other one was like three pages long. We're trying to condense it and make it more user-friendly and incorporate all the changes with Career Connect and WIOA. So please be patient. I know you guys have been waiting a long, long time for that one, and it will be here soon.
We've seen drafts.
Yes.
Actually, it's coming.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we do have a question. The list we check off, what documents should be in the file?
This list that I'm showing on the screen now, it has a category for each. Each category has a list of documents that you need. What should be in the file. And if you can use, like the birth certificate can count for two things. You don't have to collect the second document. So just make sure you have one of these things to cover each of the things you're making the person eligible for.
Okay, we have two questions. Will you accept any of the documents from these pages?
Yes.
Okay.
If you're not sure, again, you can send a ticket to the help desk or call your regional manager.
Okay, the next one. So what if someone is just basic skills deficient and over income, and that's the only way to get them eligible? Do we still complete the self-reported?
Okay, so basically we're going to talk about, the last thing we are going to talk about is the basic skills deficient. Now, I know in iWIDS you can just click basic skills deficient and that's how you're making the person eligible. In Career Connect, that's not the case. And the reason that's not the case is because we have to report federally to the Department of Labor how many people are low income. And that's the reason why we have this self-reported worksheet. Because here, if you look here on this eligibility and grants tab, if the person says here low income because I certified the person low income, right? Now, if you don't put any income, if you don't answer any questions regarding income and the only question you answer is basic skills deficient, this low income is automatically going to come up. So basically what you're saying is you certified someone as low income and you have no documentation in the file regarding income. And that could be a finding. So we want to make sure that you are covering yourself. Even though the person is eligible as basic skills, you're certifying in Career Connect that you've certified them this low income as well. So you need to document their income.
And it's not just, it is about the federal reporting, but it's also about priority of service, which obviously they already get to be the basic skills deficient. but you're basically saying that, and whether or not they got priority of service also is low income, so that's why you have to do this. So and it's a little bit different under WIOA.
And this is also different than I think what you've been used to be, what you have used to be, what you were used doing before. So the person is eligible as basic skills, but because that low income is on the screen and you're certifying it that you did that, you have to have documentation in the file regarding their income, not just the test. Now, if the person's over income, you still do the work, you're going to go ahead and do the worksheet, and you're still going to complete that income in Career Connect, and it's not going to say low income. In that case, it's only going to say basic skills deficient. And you can still service the customer, and that's fine.
Okay. We have a question. Which could be the self-reported worksheet? The documentation could be the self-reported worksheet.
Are you saying if you're saying basic skills could be the self-reported worksheet? No, we're asking you to do the full income calculation as it applies. Some of your customers may be getting food stamps or some of the other automatic qualifiers, so we want you to put that in the file. And if they don't, then you still need to collect the income from that customer. If they're giving you a hard time, or if you have a hard time producing it, call your regional manager, send a help desk ticket, and we'll go from there. Yes, you have to do the full calculation as it applies. And we are going to talk more about the priority of service. We're working on a form in-house that will help you to determine who is a priority of service. This is for low income. Yeah, 1A. This is for so for where the basic skills come into play is for the 1A customers, the low income.
Yeah, but basically going back to what Christy gave at the very beginning, and if you go to our self-reported income procedure, the only time you can use the self-reported is if they're a dislocated worker, or if they're an out-of-school youth that has one of those barriers. Otherwise, they either have to be certified low income based on what we call the automatic, SNAP, TANF, etc., or you have to do the income calculation. So dislocated workers, self-report, out-of-school youth with these barriers, self-report. Everybody else has to be documented with actual documents and or the calculation.
Okay, we have two more. So does this go into effect this Friday, the 9th, for basic skills deficient?
Basically, this has been in effect, but just moving forward, yes, you need to do it. However, if you get an audit and one of your files, you certify them as basic skills and they're certified as low income and there's no income in the file, we're going to ask you for you may be asked to get that document. You may be asked to get the document.
Okay. If they do not have any income and they are an out-of-school youth, can we do an applicant statement and say they have no income?
Well, you can't. You need to ask them a little more specific. How have you been supporting yourself for the last 6 months? You need to run the IVIS, and you need to just kind of. They're not just living off of, I don't want to say they're living off nothing, but you have to it has to make sense. Somebody's supporting them somewhere or somehow. Yeah. And they also need a barrier. I mean, maybe they're homeless. I don't know what the situation, but the applicant saying they have no income is not acceptable. That's one of the fact sheet that we talked about. That's when the IVIS comes into play. Maybe they're getting room and board. You have to kind of describe the situation a little bit more detailed.
Okay. Not a question. Usually when doing Uber, the individual is asked to provide copies of their bank statement, deposits, and identify the weekly and or daily amounts paid from Uber.
I guess that's okay. So basically they don't get a year-to-date is what they're saying. So, you know, and again, this is just a kind of a general overview. We will be offering some more income calculation training in person, which would be more in-depth, that could kind of go over those different scenarios. It's kind of hard to do it on a webinar because you all need to kind of practice. So in that situation, you may want to just call your regional manager or send a ticket to the help desk for further guidance.
This is Patty. For those odd jobs like the Ubers and whatever else is out there that you may get a statement monthly or quarterly or whatever, those are reportable wages. So if you're going to use whatever they supply you with, I would back it up with IBIS, just so you're covering yourself, and then you calculate whatever you had before you based off of the instructions given on the worksheet.
Right, or you can even have a possibility is if they give you the bank statements, maybe you can just do the applicant statement, or you print the IBIS and say my average is whatever. So so when you come to those questions, you do need to contact someone from the partnership for further guidance, just to make sure you're, like Patty said, covering yourself.
Okay, but those Uber wages will not show on IBIS.
Oh,
Contractors.
Okay.
okay.
Okay, and then he goes on to say they are a 1099. Okay. Next question, high poverty area zones would be sufficient to document low income.
Yes, but only for out-of-school youth. No other title can use it, only out-of-school youth. No adults and no in-school youth.
Okay. If we do not have access to IBIS, what do we do?
Contact your regional manager, and they can get the process started.
Okay. Uber pay stubs, the customer can print them from their phone.
Since you guys are talking about Uber, do they have the year-to-date on the Uber or no? I don't know.
I think they have like monthly statements. I think
Okay.
at the end of every month, they issue a monthly statement and it tells you like, you know, how much you have like earned.
Okay, well, if they give you a monthly statement, you can just put that down for the month, because we're looking for months.
Right.
So if they do,
Nonetheless, when
Yeah.
you do your taxes, it's going to be a year-to-date.
yeah, so if they give you like the 1099, you can divide that by 12 and just kind of go from there.
And someone added year-to-date for Uber.
I think they said no.
Have not seen that yet.
Oh, okay.
Year-to-date for Uber. Okay.
Okay. Well, if they do give you the monthly, then you can just use that monthly amount. So that's what the worksheet is reflecting, monthly. Any other questions?
Oh, another. IBIS reports are a quarter behind. Therefore, you will not be seeing the most current income or lack thereof for up to 3 months.
Right, that's why we're asking you to collect paycheck stubs when at all possible, because, right, the mandats are behind.
Right, but run it anyway to show that they have no income. Otherwise, you have no way to prove that you didn't exhaust all options.
Okay, if there's no more questions, I just want to, again, make you aware that there are some more upcoming trainings and webinars. Yes, we have. Tomorrow we actually have the Career Connect Job Developer Training. Thursday and Friday, Adult and Dislocated Worker Case Management Training. And Monday and Tuesday, Youth Case Management Training. Next, or 2 weeks from now, we have the Case Notes webinar, and then in April, the Job Developer Training. And again, these are all on the help desk in order for you to, so you can register. You can use this link to register.
Okay. What about couch surfing? Is that considered homelessness?
Yes, and you can use an applicant statement to document that, and it has to be spelled out in the applicant statement. Like customers stays, from place to place, and he's homeless. He has no permanent residence, and it has to come from the customer.
Another one. Okay, if we do not sign up for this training, but we all met on a conference call today, how should we handle our attendance today?
Oh. So they probably registered one person for the webinar, but there were multiple people. Well, we'll send out, like after last week's webinar, when we got the materials posted, we sent out to whoever had registered, and I also sent it out to Amy's list to everybody. So through one of those, if you registered, you should get the notice, and then if you can just share it with the other folks that were with you.
Okay, and yes, the webinar is recorded, and we will, like I said, we'll post everything by close of business.
I'm knocking on wood. Yeah. we tested it this time. We posted it, so we're confident.
So it will be posted. Everything will be posted. All the handouts that we talked about, all the examples we went through, I'll post those on the help desk by close of business tomorrow. All right, you all. No more questions. Have a good evening. Thank you very much.
And yay to Christy for...
Oh, yay. Oh, my God. Okay, thanks. All right, bye.